moving on. So for those who aren't as familiar with Venus Research, can you give just a little spiel about what you guys do?
I am a product developer, independent consultant essentially. I've been doing this in the industry for about 15 years. I really focus on clean, organic, and non-GMO formulations, but I do help with all aspects of product development from concept all the way through managing co-packers.
So basically you are the person that every entrepreneur wants to know here.
Yes.
Awesome.
I tend to be pretty busy in that case.
So, I mean, what size companies do you most typically work with then?
I work with typically a little larger companies. I do certainly every once in a while bring on a startup that is super tiny, just with the really right, passionate person behind it. A lot of times people will come to me with sort of a proof of concept before they've gotten a lot of distribution, and I help them manage getting a bigger co-packer and finding the right sources to move into that next realm in order to, really be able to complete their orders in the right manner.
Now, what ingredients or kind of need points are your customers and the brands that you're working with most asking to work with, or problems that they're most trying to solve when they're coming to you saying, hey, I have this idea for a product?
Well, I'd say protein continues to be a very big topic of discussion.
We haven't hit peak protein yet, really?
Well, we've gone through whey. I think we've hit that, and now, it seems like every year there's a new kind of plant-based protein, and they just keep on getting better. So the conversation keeps continuing.
Now, going off of protein, then, if I'm a brand who comes to you saying, I want to enter the plant protein space, what is the one warning that you give them in terms of product innovation when they're looking to make that entrance?
Well, it just really depends on what direction they're going in the plant protein sense. There is, in the area of beverage, there is a lot of uphill climb in order to find the right co-packer and meet those minimums. And it is a crowded space, so you really have to differentiate and find the right protein source and make sure it is available before you really, jump off the cliff with it, because there are really, really different flavor profiles in every protein.
So true. I mean, we're even have been writing a story about a big dairy brand coming up that's using a plant-based protein. Look at NOSH sometime later this week for the story. Shameless plug. And they're using a pea protein in order to make the base of their non-dairy ice cream. But pea protein in general, it does kind of have a little bit of a reputation for having a strong taste. So we were talking through that with them as well. That definitely, when you are working with a brand in terms of product innovation and they want to use either a protein or ingredient that kind of has that bad reputation, what do you advise them?
Well, it's very hard to do just on your own. There is a lot that goes into really making it work. Your gum base, your sweetener base. A lot of people are coming to me wanting, say, a 0-calorie vegan ice cream, and it is really, really hard, especially if you've been doing it in your kitchen and you don't realize, kind of how the gums are going to work when they actually go to manufacturing. So there's a lot of other ingredients that play into the end formulation. And it really does take having a relationship with that co-packer to get it right.
Now, you do a lot of market research to help your clients as well understand just where the market is going and what kind of products people want to see enter the space. And everyone throughout the whole day, really, and yesterday, has been just talking about the importance of data in marketing and retail presence. But what is the importance of data for innovation that you've noticed?
Well, it is really important, but I would say, there is a lot of people on this planet that we're feeding, and they have really different diet parameters. So there is still a lot of directions to go. There's the keto direction, and there's paleo, and then there's plant-based. So there's still a lot of different directions to go. So that data is important, but it's also to, take in consideration that there is a large amount of people willing to eat a lot of different kinds of diets that we're all trying to manage.
Now, in terms of flavor profiles, and we're seeing really brands across all categories embrace this global kind of flavors and cuisine. How is that shaping the way you work with clients and what you're advising them to do?
It's really popular, and I think it's going to gain popularity. Certainly, I've had a lot of say sweet chili or toasted sesame kind of directions coming my way,
For sure.
and I love those, so I'm happy. And I think that's just the kind of global fusion is going to continue. So certainly, turmerics and cardamoms and these sort of Indian spices are definitely going to continue, and I have a lot of sources for them, so we really have no problem finding that.
So talking about sourcing, organic products, which you work with a lot of time, that's really your specialty, and non-GMO, those things tend to have a limited supply chain depending on what ingredients we're talking about and what sourcing. How do you work with a brand to make sure that they understand how to navigate those sourcing issues when they come to you with a product?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly something we talk about from the very beginning. So when somebody comes to me with a unique flavor direction and there's not actually a source for it, I usually will go to someone I know and we talk about what it would take in order to get it in and what kind of minimums they would have to hit. A lot of times we can get it made, but you definitely don't want to go start formulating without having that source. Sometimes you luck out and all of a sudden it's available because, these popular ingredients like turmerics, there's consistently new ingredients coming along the way, but you really don't want to formulate until you know that you can get something into the hands of your co-packer, because you're going to have to make a change if you can't.
Has there ever been a point where you've had to work with a client and you asked them that you had to say, hey, there's not the supply chain here, we can't do this idea, let's go back to the drawing board?
Yes, there's certainly been those. In some cases we have to decide to go with a made with organic product. And it happens, and it's okay. And a lot of times, I have one project I've been working on that we have launched as a made with organic product. Everything that we could source at the time was organic, and then there was a couple things that were not organic at the time, and I think within the next couple months there is something coming on the market, and we are planning on changing over to a completely organic product.
So when you work with a brand, either a small brand or a large company, what is the most common mistake that you see when it comes to product innovation?
One of them is to, be a little too creative off the bat.
We're taking too big of a swing here? Okay. Entrepreneurs taking too big of a swing? That's so weird.
It is amazing how many times we look, say we launch with 7 items, and the really, really esoteric ones are the ones that we tend to have to cut first. They just can be a little too scary for the consumer that is buying it, and that's you need the consumer to buy that product, or else you won't be anywhere. So that is probably the biggest issue, is just being too entrepreneurial and not really considering what might actually sell at the market.
Is there a sweet spot of the perfect combination that makes a product guaranteed success when you think of that?
There is, and it really is sort of melding something that everybody knows with something that is also a little bit esoteric. So, you kind of start off with something that everybody's comfortable with, and then just kind of sneak a little bit of, a honeysuckle or
the
something
perfect
like that
example,
into it.
I feel like, is what Joel just talked about on stage with the protein pancakes and how that just shattered the space. And protein. Yeah. We're back full circle. Okay, thank you so much for chatting with us today. We are out of time. We have to bring up our next guest, but I really appreciate it.
All right.